I'd like to ask you all to stand and join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have an agenda set forth in front of us, and it's been distributed. Has anybody got anything that needs to be added or changed on the agenda? Okay, can I have a motion for approval of the agenda then?
Move that we accept this agenda for this evening's meeting.
Thank you. Second?
Support.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the approval of the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. And the ayes have it. The agenda is approved. We also have attached to the minutes package the minutes of our meeting, a very interesting meeting of April the 9th, 2026. Have we all had an opportunity to review those? Are there any corrections or additions or deletions that need to be made? Well then, would somebody like to make a motion?
I move to approve the minutes from our April 9th, 2026 meeting.
Support.
All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed signify by saying nay. And the ayes have it. The minutes of April 9th, 2026 are approved. Okay, we now come to the segment for public comment on any non-agenda items. So if you have a comment you wish to make, please come to the podium, identify yourself, and you've got 4 minutes, and we're ready to hear your comments.
Good evening. My name is Katie Schneider. I live over on South Van Cal Street. I know that based on the minutes that we just had from April 9th, everybody was here to learn a little bit about battery energy storage systems. As of today, I'm aware that the township is writing, or shall I say, working utility-scale battery energy storage systems into our backyards on South Van Cal Street. That's that workable ordinance. This is happening because the last 2 energy ordinance drafts specifically allows utility-scale battery energy storage systems as a special use in rural residential. If that one line stays in, then this commission is helping move this project exactly where the developer wants it, regardless of the master plan and regardless of appropriate placement in industrial application areas. Other towns across the U.S. have found that once they've allowed one industrial application in rural residential or ag districts, they've opened themselves up to all sorts of industrial applications there, including industrial centers like data centers, where plenty of acreage exists. This project did not appear out of nowhere yesterday. I've been up here for the last 8 months. Other people in this room have too. There's been plenty of time to work on it and recognize what this is, and plenty of time to stop treating it like it's a minor ordinance issue to be passed in one vote soon. Instead, the public has been shut out. People who ask questions are brushed aside, and even the idea of more public involvement has been treated like a problem. And other communities around us that are putting the work in, they're being criticized. We were told by Eagle and Graham Institute, this very room, at the last meeting, communities should follow their master plan, not bend them around a developer's preferred parcel. And yet, that is exactly what the ordinance looks like. The township has expanded industrial planning in its master plan. There's industrial land along the same corridor that these lines run. There's a nearby point of interconnection, and there are other locations that make much more sense than placing this next to a dense area of homes, farms, and livestock. As of today, that line matters the most, the one that says that this is a special use in rural residential. And residents should also notice this. The township has said no solar and industrial, while leaving the door to battery storage in rural residential. That reads like steering this project toward neighborhoods while pretending that the township's hands are tied. They're not tied. You still have a choice. And if this goes to the MPSC, the residents from both Oshtemo and Almena at least get a fair hearing. At least alternatives, compatibility, nearby homes, and environmental conflicts in more appropriate industrial locations can still all be in that case. At least this will not be controlled by one attorney telling everyone else to sit down and trust the process, while giving his opinion that seems to leave backyards as the developer's only option. Even the MPSC staff that were here have noted that this location is an inappropriate site. My request is simple: remove rural residential as a special use for battery energy storage systems. We have a large industrial area, and that is where industrial applications belong. Do it before the developer moves further down the road. Do it before my money is committed to this project, suspected to be happening in June. Millions will be put down as a deposit. Do it before the township helps create the very lawsuit and pressure campaign that it claims to fear. If this commission would like to show the public that it is still thinking for itself and standing up for residents, this is the moment. Remove rural residential, stop forcing this project into our backyards, and stop pretending this is the only option. You are the planning commission. You are able to direct the planning department how you would like things to be and what your opinions are. And your opinions matter. All we get is 4 minutes, but you guys get to give fair hearings, and you get to give your say on all of this. Thank you.
My name's Al Garrity. I own a bunch of farmland within 60 feet of this program and within half a mile. They're all different farms I own, which is left to me by my folks, my uncle, my aunt, and me. What am I giving to my kids if this project goes through? A bunch of land that's not worth a dang dime. How many of you people are within 35 miles of this thing? I've talked to people out here that talk to people of where other these places went. They're 35 miles away. Their pollution, their water, everything is polluted from this thing. How many of you people, let's take a roll call. Are you for this battery plant? Oh, you can't say nothing. How about you, sir? You know, that's crazy. You guys are supposed to be up here helping us, and you're not doing it. You know, we're trying to recall the board members, and, you know, we're out there busting our butts to get them recalled because they don't give a crap about us. All they want is the money. And I'm kind of thinking you guys are the same doggone way.
Mr. Garrity?
Yes.
You've been here before. and
I hope to tell you I have.
I haven't said it tonight, but I have said it before, and that's, we don't come up and cast aspersions upon everybody. And this stuff about us getting money in our pocket.
It is.
I have not heard a single thing, and I don't address that to the board. You know, if you want to criticize us, criticize us.
Okay, I'm going to criticize you.
But
How
don't
much?
don't say we're taking money that nobody knows anything about.
You are.
Now,
How much
okay,
is that
okay,
farmland worth?
You've said it. You're done. Move on.
No,
Okay,
I'm not moving on.
You're done.
No, I'm not. I got 4 minutes. How much is that land worth? And they put battery
You've got-
storage in there. How
you've
much
got
are you getting
4
paid?
minutes. You've got
Yeah.
4 minutes if you don't criticize people like
I'm not
that.
criticizing you.
Yes.
I'm just saying, hey,
Then-
you guys are for this.
Please.
Tell me if you're not for it. Let's go down the line. Are you for it? Are you for it? Nobody answers. You know, it's like the Kroger thing. We stood in here, I bet 12 people got up here. Well, Kalamazoo Gazette was here, and the Channel 3 News was here. Everyone said they didn't want that Kroger here. I watched Channel 3 News the next day. One lady was on there. Oh, I think it's a great deal. Not one person. You know, it's crazy. Thank you. Take my 4 minutes.
I'll have to take some of my 4 minutes to calm down. I tell my friends and the people who see me on TV, like at church and so on, hey, saw you on TV. And they said, you sounded good. And I said, I was really mad. So the way Mr. Garrity was treated, that's not something I can just sit there and take. I'm not going to do that. So I've got some wonderful math calculations I have to do in my head. Thanks to you guys and your ordinance, we now know that there'll be a cell tower put up 700 feet from our closest property line. So 195-foot tower. Well, it won't be lit, because that's what your ordinance says. Well, the ordinance says it won't be lit unless the FAA says it has to be lit. So you got an out there. So 195 feet, 700 feet from my line, got to do the math. 195, 700, still trying to calm down. None of that math adds up to preservation of the rural character of this township of the western side. But you guys have all the experience. The township attorney, he's got 40 years. You've got 50 years, Mr. Smith, you said it yourself. Also, at the last meeting, you said, we, talking about yourself, I'm not casting aspersions, we find out about these things same time everybody else. So is someone wagging the dog? Is that an aspersion? Is the tail wagging the dog? Everybody said they didn't want Kroger, but Kroger came back. Did somebody encourage Kroger to come back? Did somebody say, oh, township board, they'll flip, I'll get them to rezone it to commercial? That was from the podium, from this fancy laptop. That was mentioned as a possibility. Just rezone the front to commercial, call it good. Kroger can come in. Kroger can come in with a gas station. So, wagging the dog, money trail, that math. So, I'm going to be able to do seesaw math pretty soon if I have enough time to talk about that. Cell tower on one side, Bess on the other, like a teeter-totter, like a seesaw. That math ain't going to work. So, my realtor will do the math. We'll arm wrestle over a 6% commission or a 7% commission. That's the math I'm going to be looking at when the cell tower comes in with lights and the best comes in, thanks to you guys and thanks to the township. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman? Yes, Mr.
I
Brown.
just feel compelled to make one statement to set the record clear that this planning commission is bound to follow Michigan law, township ordinance in a decision. And also, it must hear testimony and evidence presented before it makes a decision. In most cases, especially a special land use, it's like a judge. A judge does not make decisions or indicate any preference before that judge or this commission would see the evidence, hear the testimony, and review all the facts. I just felt I must say that to some of the comments made by some of the citizens. Understandable, but they must understand that that's the law in Michigan. And you're duty-bound to follow it and not pre-decide or predetermine any case.
Seeing nobody else rising, I'm going to close the public comment on the non-agenda items and move on to item number 6. This is a public hearing on the City of Kalamazoo Essential Services expansion at 410 North 9th Street. Colton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in front of us tonight, the City of Kalamazoo is requesting site plan and special use approval to construct a 344 square foot building addition onto the existing water regulator station located at 410 North 9th Street. The subject site falls within the R2 zoning district. Buildings and regulator stations for essential services are considered a special land use, which requires review and approval from the Planning Commission. The site is on the east side of North 9th Street between M43 and West Kale Avenue. The property under consideration is outlined in light blue on the right-hand side of your screen. Overall, most of the requirements from section 64 and 65.30 of the ordinance have been met. In my next few slides, I'll walk through the requirements of each section mentioned, mainly focusing on the highlights. As previously noted, 410 North 9th Street is zoned R2 Residence District. The subject property abuts vacant land to the south, Walmart to the west, a single-family home to the east, and a medical office use to the north. For access and circulation, the driveway will remain as is, and the interior drive aisle meets code requirements. No parking spaces are currently being proposed, and this is mainly due to it operating as an essential service. The site is unmanned and experiences limited activity on site, and so therefore parking requirements for use of this nature are not applicable. No signage or fencing is proposed, and all frontage, area, and setback requirements have been met. 10-foot wide HMA path is shown on the site plan, and construction timing will need to be coordinated with the township's planned project to complete the segment path between Suco Drive and Mickey's Trail. With respect to the building design, a 344 square foot addition is proposed on the north end of the principal building. The addition will be 1 story at a height of about 12 feet 8 inches. The exterior materials for the addition will be beige brick, matching what's out there today. An image of the west elevation can be found on the right-hand side of your screen. A photometric plan was submitted to establish 4 new wall-mounted lights, and overall the plan meets code requirements. As a condition of approval, we would just like to see updated cut sheets so we can confirm that the light fixtures being proposed are indeed cut off. In terms of landscaping, all applicable landscaping requirements for this type of use have been met. And then on to life and safety along with engineering. Both engineering and Oshtemo Fire overall are satisfied with the design of the site. The next item to review is the general special use review criteria outlined in section 65.30 of the ordinance. Such criteria can be found on the slide. Overall, the proposed use is consistent with the current site activity and is in accordance with the township zoning ordinance. In terms of impact, a water regulator station that is operated and owned by the city of Kalamazoo already exists on site and has been established there for quite some time. Nothing to the site layout is changing other than the footprint of the building increasing and adding a stormwater basin to the site for site drainage. The entrance on the site will continue to be used in a similar fashion, and the amount of traffic will be minimal and will be consistent with what the site has produced in the past. All setbacks are met. The building is not getting any closer to the neighboring single-family home to the east than what's out there today. The property is devoid of natural features, and the same number of trees will remain. With respects to public facilities, municipal water and municipal sewer are both available. North 9th Street is a primary road, and adequate public infrastructure is in place to support the proposed special use. And the last criterion for specific use requirements is not applicable for this type of use as an essential service. Recommendation, Planning Department staff recommend that the Planning Commission grant special use and site plan approval for a 344 square foot addition onto the existing water regulator station building for the city of Kalamazoo with the conditions outlined in the staff report. Thank you. Would also like to note that the applicant is present here tonight to help answer any questions as well. So, thanks.
Will the lighting for this be only on the west side as it currently is?
The applicant can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe just 1 light on the south elevation, 2 on the west, and then 1 on the north. So none will be on the east.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And then the generator, that's just in case of power outage, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Does the applicant wish to make any presentation?
Not unless there's any specific questions. My name's Tyler Kendall, work for Jones and Henry Engineers. I'm the project engineer.
Could you go to the podium because this is being
Yeah, sure.
broadcast? Thank you.
Yep. No, I have no further presentation beyond what Colton has already mentioned. Again, my name is Tyler Kindle. I work for Jones and Henry Engineers. We're the consulting engineer for the city of Kalamazoo for this project. Happy to answer any additional questions you guys may have.
Tyler?
Does this water regulation station service water to Oshtemo Township residents? And is it improving their water service?
Yes, it does. Currently, the gist of the project is to change the disinfection from tabulated chlorine to gaseous chlorine. That's the reason for the project. The existing tabulator is reached the end of its useful life, and this will bring the station up to city standards for chlorine addition. The city does boost the pressure into Oshtemo Township through this station.
Tyler, my question was getting back to, how does the chlorine injection system actually work? I mean, is it self-contained? Is it any sort of fire risk or hazardous?
So, no, there's no fire risk. It is a hazardous chemical, and it is contained within the chlorine room. Gaseous chlorine is heavier than air. It sinks to the floor. There is an HVAC system included with the new addition. There is an alarm system connected to Kalamazoo SCADA system. Any alarm shuts down the HVAC system, so any leak would be contained within the building. And then the city of Kalamazoo has standard operating procedure for containing and removing the gaseous chlorine to make the room safe. That is all included in the building. This also goes through permitting through Eagle. They review the design and approve the project as well. So.
Tyler, are there any noise issues that will be emanating from the building that aren't currently, or anything, I guess, except for maybe when the emergency power would run, you'd hear that for sure?
No, just the emergency generator would kick on. There would be an audible noise, any engine running, but nothing beyond what a typical engine would sound like.
Right.
Then they're all
During normal
soundproofed.
operation.
They're all soundproofed and closured now, so it's pretty small. But as far as the chlorine injection system, there will be no noise outside the building.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. All right, I'm now going to open this up to public comment. Does anybody have any public comment they wish to make on this issue? If you do, please come up to the podium and state your position, and please remember, try and keep it civil. Thank you. Seeing nobody, is anybody ready to make a motion on this?
I can make the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman.
Motion to approve the, sorry, I'm down in my notes, excuse me. Motion to approve the 410 North 9th Street site plan and special use for the 344 square foot addition.
Including the recommendations as set forth in the staff report, the three of them?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody like to second that motion?
Second.
All right. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The ayes have it. The motion, or the recommendation is approved. Moving on to the next item. This is our public hearing on the Unified Care Facility at 5516 West N Avenue and the adjacent vacant parcel. Colton?
All right. Thank you, Chair. The applicant is requesting special use approval to establish a unified care facility consisting of 2 adult foster care small group homes on adjoining properties located in the 5500 block of West End Avenue. 1 adult foster care small group home is proposed to be established within the existing 1,336 square foot building located at 5516 West End Avenue. And then a new 4,875 square foot building is proposed to be constructed on the neighboring vacant lot to serve as a second adult foster care small group home. It should be noted the applicant also owns Tender Living Home in the city of Kalamazoo, which is an adult foster care home for up to 6 individuals with the focus on the aged and handicapped population. So just some background, a unified care facility is defined in the Township zoning ordinance as a combination of 2 or more state licensed adult or child care facilities on the same or adjacent properties, operating under a single organization or through a joint operating agreement. Since the applicant is proposing to establish 2 state licensed facilities for adult foster care operating under common ownership on adjoining properties, the definition of a unified care facility applies in this case. The zoning ordinance, if you recall, was amended back in 2025 as a community need was identified for these types of larger facilities to be developed. And then operating more than 1 facility under common ownership allows for the flexibility within the state separation requirements between similar facilities. The subject properties are located on the north side of West End Avenue between South 9th Street and South 11th Street. The land encompassing the proposed unified care facility is outlined in blue on the aerial on your screen. Unified care facilities are identified as a special land use within the township zoning ordinance. And when considering special use, section 65.30 of the ordinance must be followed. Analysis of the proposal against said code section can be found in the staff report beginning on page 20 of the Planning Commission packet. Section 65.30 of the ordinance outlines the requirements for all special uses need to meet in order to be approved. Such criteria is outlined on this slide. The first looks at how the proposal aligns with the future place types map in the 2045 Oshtemo Comprehensive Plan, which identifies this area for innovation in industry. And innovation in industry areas are designed to accommodate a wide range of land uses, including professional offices and corporate campuses, healthcare organizations, and moderate scale industry facilities. This property is currently zoned R2 Residence District. The proposed use is permissible with special use approval from the Planning Commission. From a zoning ordinance perspective, the use itself would be compatible with the surrounding residential character and is consistent with the township zoning ordinance. The next criterion is site plan review, which an engineered site plan is not necessary for this type of special land use. However, the applicant did submit a floor plan and a site plan sketch showing the general layout, which is shown on the right-hand side of your screen. And then all general site design requirements have been met. In terms of impact, the new building is proposed to house up to 12 adults, while the existing building is proposed to house up to 6 adults, providing a total of 18 adults. The applicant also indicated that there will be up to 2 caretakers during the day and 1 caretaker at night for the larger home, and 1 caretaker during the day and 1 caretaker at night for the smaller building. 6 designated parking spaces are proposed for the new building, while 2 spaces are proposed for the existing home. Although parking for the proposed number of caretakers is satisfied, the Planning Commission will need to determine if the traffic generated from the visitors on behalf of the 18 residents will be excessive or out of character for this area. Additionally, uses of this nature often have a van or a small bus parked on the premises for outings. It is unknown if such transportation is proposed with this request. However, if so, staff encourages the Planning Commission to determine if such transportation accommodations being parked on site would be harmonious with the existing character of the adjacent properties. For the home at 5516 West End Avenue, an adult foster care small group home with up to 6 residents is moderately compatible with the surrounding single-family homes in the area, given that the special use will be established within the existing home on site and the exterior of the home will remain unchanged. For the neighboring vacant lot, the new building is proposed to be 1-story with an overall height of 26 feet. The structure will include a covered front porch and dormer elements resembling the exterior of a residence. The proposed building will be set back the same distance from the street as the existing homes in the area. And then the new building is also proposed to be 75 feet in width, which is consistent with the front, with the width of the front building elevation of the neighboring homes, which includes attached garages. However, most of the homes in the immediate area are 1-story with a substantially smaller floor area as compared to the proposed 4,875 square foot adult foster care small group home. In reviewing assessing records for neighboring homes within the general vicinity in both Oshtemo and Texas Township, the home with the greatest floor area is 2,132 square feet, while the home with the smallest floor area is just over 1,200 square feet. So that's about an average of 1,668 square feet. With the proposed building having a floor area 2,743 square feet greater than the next largest home in the area, the Planning Commission will need to determine and make a finding if the 4,875 square foot adult foster care small group home is indeed compatible and appropriate with the character and uses of adjacent properties. And to wrap up here, with respects to public facilities, municipal water and sewer are both available. West End Avenue is a primary road, so adequate infrastructure is in place to support the proposed special use. And with respects to natural features, the property is devoid of such. The last criterion on the screen for specific use requirements will be discussed on the next slide. So as a special use, there are 7 specific requirements that are that the proposed unified care facility needs to meet. These standards are summarized on your screen, but go into greater detail beginning on page 23 of your packets. The first requirement outlined in this section requires that the proposed use cannot be closer than 1,500 feet to relatable services unless operated as a unified care facility. Since this is a unified care facility, that requirement is not applicable. Next, in terms of fencing, all outdoor social areas are proposed to be fenced in with 6-foot tall vinyl fencing, so that requirement is met. The third requirement details that the residential character of the property shall be preserved and maintained. And so it further states that any building must be compatible in size, height, external design, landscaping, surrounding open space, as other residential buildings within the area. The applicant is proposing that the external design of the new building will be a similar material and color of those found neighboring the property. The building will be set back the same distance and have an overall width similar to the adjacent homes when the attached garage is considered. Additional landscaping is also proposed, and a covered patio is proposed in the rear of the building. The outdoor gathering area backs up to a field that is presently being farmed, and the current open space complements the proposed unified care facility as well as the neighboring homes on the north side of West End Avenue. Furthermore, the township has a maximum building coverage provision where buildings in this district cannot occupy more than 30% of the total ground area. The applicant is proposing to maximize this requirement with a building coverage at 29.7%. That said, a duplex is permitted by right within this zoning district and could hypothetically be built to the same size as the proposed 4,875 square foot small group home. Duplexes are also permitted to have a maximum overall height of 35 feet. In looking at the township's assessing records over the last 10 years where duplexes were built, we found that the average floor area per dwelling unit is about 1,250 square feet, meaning that the average floor area for the duplex is around 2,500 square feet. Now, if garage space was considered, the size of the overall duplex building would be about 3,400 square feet. So, although a duplex with a height of 35 feet and floor area of 4,875 square feet would be permitted by right at this location, the size of the newly proposed building would exceed the overall size of the duplex, including garage space, by about 1,400 square feet. The average floor area of homes in the vicinity adjacent to West End Avenue is just under 1,700 square feet. The new building is proposed to exceed the average home size in the area by approximately 3,200 square feet. Additionally, the overall height of the new building is proposed at 26 feet. The residential buildings in proximity to the site in question are ranch-style homes with an overall height between 12 and 15 feet. So the Planning Commission must make a finding whether the proposed 26-foot tall, 4,875 square foot small group home building is compatible with the residential buildings in the area. The fourth requirement is signage. No signage is being proposed, so that requirement's met. Next is parking, already touched on that, but the required is one parking space per non-resident employee, and so sufficient parking is included with the number of caretakers proposed. With respect to access, unified care facilities are required to have frontage on a county primary road, which this stretch of N Avenue is considered a county primary road, so that requirement is satisfied. And then lastly, unified care facilities are required to be connected to public water and sewer. And as I touched on already, the existing home is already connected to the public system, and the applicant is already proposing to connect to public water and sewer for the new building as well. So this requirement is met. Recommendation. So the Planning Commission may approve with conditions, or deny the special use request. Township staff recommend that the Planning Commission review the information provided in the staff report, the application supplemental materials, listen to the applicant's presentation, have an open dialogue with the applicant, consider public comment, and then make a finding as to whether the proposed special use conforms with the standards and recommendations of the 2045 Oshtemo Comprehensive Plan, the special use criteria in 65.30, and then the requirements for special uses in 49.140. If the Planning Commission finds that the special use request is supported, staff suggests that the Planning Commission attach the conditions outlined in the staff report to their approval. Thank you. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and would also like to note that the applicant is present here tonight to help answer any questions as well.
Colton, are there any requirements in group homes like this for parking spaces per resident, or something to judge guests coming, or the need for parking spaces? Is there any
Sure.
way to judge that?
Yeah, so the ordinance only outlines requirements for the number of caretakers. So what's being proposed is, folks in the age and handicapped population. So it's not a senior citizen home where they'll be driving or anything like that. So, and the ordinance doesn't go into the necessary parking for visitors. So the planning commission will need to determine if visitor parking and whatnot is addressed with his request, given the number of spaces provided.
Just a second follow-up in terms of parking. I'm observing the parking here as looking significantly more commercial than the parking on the adjacent properties that looks very residential. Is there any criteria for that kind of parking in an R2 where it's in the front yard? It's different than a normal residential setup.
Sure. Yeah, the ordinance does not go into specifics in that regard.
But it could be one of your considerations if you think it fits the character of the area, if you feel that parking gives it a commercial feel.
Correct.
I have a question about section 49.140 in here about multiple larger facilities for child and adult foster care. As this is written here, is it implying that it shall not be closer to these other businesses unless they are operated as a unified care facility, that the two businesses would be operated? Maybe this is a question for you. As a unified care facility, or that the new additional business needs to be a unified care facility? That was unclear to me in the way it was worded.
I'm not sure your question. It's a unified care facility because it's commonly owned, but he could just build one. They're not required, the applicant's not required to build two facilities.
No, I think that because this is about saturation, right? So if the township believes that an excessive concentration in a single neighborhood, is it implying that these other things listed would be unified with the new proposed item? Like if I have one of these and I'm building a second within 1,500 feet?
If there was another one within 1,500 feet, this property would not be eligible for a facility.
But it says here it is eligible if it's a unified care facility.
Yeah, but I mean, if there was one 1,200 feet away and not owned by the applicant, that would not be the intent of a unified. They're supposed to be on adjacent properties or one large property that might have a couple homes on it.
Okay, so, but do we know everything within 1,500 feet of this building is none of these things? Sorry, that's not clear in the packet.
There's no facility within 1,500 feet. There's one in Texas Township that's a little over 1,500 feet, but none within the 1,500.
There's no child care facilities or any of these other types of facilities?
Looking at the state's database, we did not find any within 1,500 feet.
Would like the hockey arena or the baseball academy, like those types of child care facilities qualify? I think they're both quite close, but I couldn't tell you the feet away from that location.
Yeah, those facilities would not qualify as this. They don't get a license through the state for, a child care or, thing like that. I would not consider that a similar facility to this.
Thank you.
Yep.
Cool. My question is, what's the demonstrated need for a building so much larger than anything else around it, or even on average, the residences?
Ron, that's a great question, but I think that would be best for the applicant to touch on. Yep. Yeah.
Al, can he do that now, or do we want to wait for the applicant?
I was just going to ask Mr. Nguyen to come up and make a presentation if he wishes to. Welcome.
Hi, Chairman and committees of the Planning Committee. My name is Nguyen, and if you guys don't remember me, I was the pharmacist and operator of Oshtemo Township 7 years ago. But ever since, the PBM kind of put us out of business, but now I'm coming back to the patients providing care. But this time, hopefully, I don't have to deal with insurances, right? So as Colton said, a lot of those things is very well stated. Thank you. I understand the size of this. The reason that I have to make that big because Laura have a requirement for each resident have to have an X square footage of living space in the bedroom and also a family room, a den, or a kitchen. So based on the 12 residents, I have to meet the requirement to have certain square footage. And I did shrink it, so that way it stays within the ordinance rule of 30% coverage of the lot. So that's why when I added up, it's like 29.7% of the coverage. So I know it's big, but if you look at the diagram, the width is actually smaller than some of the houses nearby. If you look 2 houses to the right, their width is actually, given the fact that it is a corner lot, so they can go a little bit bigger. But based on that one, it's actually 86 feet wide. And then the depth is 45 feet deep. So my width is very similar to every single homes there, but it's just a little bit deeper, right? I'm only going 65 feet deep. And if you look at the other house is 45 feet, and it's not on this, but if you look further down, there's a house that look at an angle, and if you measure that, it's about 50 feet. So I'm only 15 feet to the backyard, but even though I'm 15 feet deeper than the house nearby, I'm still within the ordinance of the setback from the back yard. So as far as ordinance, the design is designed that way, and it seems a bit big because there's no garage, right? Most of people's houses is average about 1,300 to 1,500 square feet, but that's not accounting for the garage. If you add in the garage, it would be a lot more in square footage. So that's the reason why it has to be a little bit bigger than the house surrounded, due to lower requirement for square footage per resident that live there. And that we're gonna have a solid fence. I was proposing a 4 feet up in the front because we have a little patio in the back for the residents come out and relax. The whole point of this is that from opening a small pharmacy, that I want patients to have better care, more individual, personalized care. I don't know if you guys got loved ones, you know, like my grandma, but they go to large facilities, right? I'm not bad naming like Story Points or whatever. They're wonderful facilities, but when you get in there, right? Your grandma, your grandpa, one caregiver per 22 residents. That's, you know, you push a button, turn a care, you're gonna wait for 45 minutes to an hour before someone gets to you, right? So that's why I designed smaller. I wish it doesn't say the Unity Care Facility. It should be said Unity Care Homes or Communities, right? So with the smaller size adult foster care or home, you get better care. And that's the reason why I am trying to open this 2 facility here back in Oshtemo. I don't think there's a lot of adult foster homes around here. You know, I think the one we have is the large one. It used to be, what is it called? Right there on 9th Street, close to my pharmacy, my old pharmacy. Now it's Story Point. I think Story Point bought them over, you know. So that's why I'm proposing to have this here. It is big, but back to the point of me putting up a privacy fence, I think the neighbor on the left side already did the privacy fence, so I'm gonna match with him. You know, I think I prefer white fence, but he already did the 10 fence, so I'm gonna match with the 10 fence, and it's gonna be 6 feet. I think that's legal, right? The front fence, you can go high. Okay, so on the sides, between the neighbor property and the existing home, it'll be a 6-feet fence. So when you drive by, it looks like a regular residential home. It's gonna be deeper, and the roof is taller because the width of the house, right? Structurally, you gotta go higher due to the pitch. But with the fence going up, if you drive by, and I'm planning to do, we have a bunch of trees and stuff out in the front already. So when you drive by, it's not gonna be like right in your face, like what the heck is this big building doing here, all right? So with the fence, it's gonna cover up some of the depth of the building. So hopefully that addressed why it's designed to be that big. Even we did scale back from what it should be, you know. Any question you guys have I can address?
What is the intended use for the upstairs? It looks like bedroom layout. Are you going to be having the care providers living on site? Or is there going to be any commercial activity on the second floor?
That's for like a meeting room, because we have to use all the footage for the residents. So we have to have like a meeting room or something like that. So that's why I was proposing use upstairs for that. This is a slap on grade build, so there won't be any basement.
Mr. Sorry.
What level of care are you offering? Is it specialized living services? Is it just adult foster care for seniors? Could you break that down a little bit?
Yes, yep. So there are different, that's a very good question. There are different type of license you can do. But for me, we're focused on home for the aged, so seniors. And then the specialized needs, you know, residents who are on wheelchair bound, bed bound, that kind of thing. So it won't be specialized in a way where, you know, higher development residents or patients.
Mr. Nguyen, it sounds to me from the clientele that you will be servicing that you're going to have a lot of people in and out of that facility. I would think a lot of them would probably be under protection of the probate court, so you're probably going to have to deal with guardians and conservators. And that means you're going to have to deal with people coming out from the court, appointed attorneys, social workers, whatever, for numerous visits to visit with the clientele and to talk with your staff. That means you're going to have parking.
Yeah.
And I don't see too much in this diagram for parking other than for your staff you provided for. But
Yeah.
what about all those social workers and court workers and family
Bless
members? Family members that come out to see their family member. Where are they going to park?
Yeah, so like Colton said, I'm operating a home, tenant living home, so the name is gonna carry here too. So we just have a driveway there. There was enough room for us to put parking space there. So we can park 4 vehicles in that driveway. It's kind of hard to turn in and out. It's off of Cork Street, by the way. So that's why we're proposing, at first I think, proposing 4 parking spot, 2 on the left and then 2 on the right. But, you know, talking to Colton that we want to make it more realistic. So that's why we propose 3 on the right and 3 on the left. And then also they can park along the main line if there's extra space needed. And then also, we can also use the house on the next door if there's not enough parking space. Since operating in Kalamazoo for a year now, I think the maximum, and this is for residents, of 6 residents, I think the maximum that we have was 4 cars at a time. Unless we have a little gathering or something like that, right? Then it would be 8 or 9 or something like that. But if there's not enough parking space, and it is very affirmed that we're not allowed to park in the street, so we're gonna break it up, you know, like, hey, come in at 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock. They will have case managers, like you said, coming in, but they're not all coming at once. So that's why I propose in that parking lot, you can park like 8 vehicles in that, which is like a lot. And then to address it, having a bus or a company car, we won't be having that, thanks to insurance, right? It's kind of expensive to carry insurance, have a car sitting there.
Following up on that, so where are the employees going to be parking then?
One of the parking space there.
Pardon?
One of the parking space, so either the left or the right side.
Okay, so in the existing building that has a garage,
It won't, because we're gonna
it's going to be
convert.
converted, right?
Yeah, right now they have a driveway and then 2 spots. It's already there. I don't need to see it. A little bump out.
Is that what the bump out is?
Yeah, so there's already have 2 car garage there. So let's say we have one caregiver, it's one caregiver during the daytime and at nighttime. So if we have extra excessive parking need for the larger home, they can also park on the adjacent parking lot. Because I think in that house, there'll be plenty of space if we need an overflow.
Okay, but no designated employee parking?
No, no. I could put one.
Well,
Yeah.
but what kind of visitation hours do you have for the facility?
Visitations, it depends on what we set it up. The house we have in Kalamazoo, we have between 9 to 8 p.m.
I take it that's daily, right? 7 days a week?
Yes, yeah, we operate 7 days a week, yeah.
Does the state or licensing, does that dictate how many caregivers you have to have for?
It does, yes. So legally, you can have 1 to like 22 residents. That's what the large homes do. They push it to the limit. So for us, it would be 1 caregiver every 6 residents.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why it's a lot better care.
What's the license limit for this build-out? How many can you have max?
It depends on the license you want. You can do it, so anything less than 12 is considered small group home. Anything larger than that, so 13 to 22, that becomes a large. And then anything larger, like 23 or higher, then it's called home for the aged. That's what Story Point does, yeah.
I'm just curious, because do you plan on going after a bigger license for this property?
No, I like the smaller setting.
All right.
I mean, down the line, who knows? I may open up a 100-bed.
No, I'm saying for this location. in
Oh,
particular.
no, it's just the small one, yep.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Anybody else on the commission have any questions? Okay, we're going to open this up to public comment. If you have a question or a comment you wish to make, please come up to the podium, state your name, and you've got 4 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, Board. My name is David Hamola, and I am the resident that put up the fence just beside that when I found out Doug sold the property. Personally, I do not like what I'm hearing. I am a single person that lives in this. My dad was probably the 3rd home that was ever built on N Avenue. I've grown up on this street. We have wonderful families. The Meads on the corner, I've grown up with them, Mr. and Mrs. Keys. One thing, the traffic on N Avenue has become atrocious. Half the time I can't back out of my driveway. We have the hockey arena down the street that I believe has been purchased by an out-of-state company. That's going to be reopening. Texas Township put an apartment complex down the road. That is filling up. Next to where Mrs. Pine used to live, they've put in another complex, which is going to be, I believe, condos. So when that fills up, I am praying maybe I need to go to a Texas Township meeting that maybe they do something with Beatrice Drive to relieve some of the traffic on N Avenue. Another concern I have is the parking that I've heard discussed. I am not a fan of that. I don't want vehicles parked in front of my house or my property. I know things have a tendency with the terrible traffic. I could not see anybody parking on the streets along this. I'm also worried about emergency vehicles, things that are going to be coming to these group home facilities, foster facilities, when these people need to go for emergent care and other things is a concern of mine. Gosh, my hands are shaking because I've got so many thoughts here. I just don't believe at the corner what I see proposed here that close to my property, right on top of it, that this is the ideal property for what is being proposed. I just think that the traffic issue, another thing I have a problem with, we don't have any curbs. There's no sidewalks. If these residents would like to leave the facility, I can't believe they're going to be inside all the time or just sitting on a porch. There's nowhere for them to go. I've actually stopped riding my bicycle on N Avenue because of the traffic I've almost been hit on my bike and stuff. It is really, I'm telling you, Oshtemo, I'm almost pleading with you. Please see the side of the residents in this residential community that live out there. I love Oshtemo Township. I like a lot of the businesses and things that you have brought to our community. I would like to continue to stay an Oshtemo resident. My dad was a master carpenter and he hand-built my home, and I would like to keep that and retire there. But all of this makes me extremely nervous. I believe you received a written letter from a very close neighbor of mine, Cheryl Owens, who is a Texas Township resident, basically across the street from where this is being proposed. And you can read her feelings in there, and I do agree with Cheryl on things. Don't want to use all of my 4 minutes. I am trying to be respectful to all you folks. I really do appreciate your time. I appreciate you hearing me, and I feel like this is just not the appropriate location for what is being proposed here, ma'am. And board, I really do appreciate it. Gentlemen, ladies, once again, my name is David Hamola. I am the resident at 5552 West N Avenue, to the property just adjacent to the vacant lot west of it. I have a few other neighbors here that might like to say a few things, but in lieu of all that, I do appreciate your time this evening and for hearing me out. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Mary Ann Mead, and I live across the street and over one house. We're right on the corner of 11th and Avenue. My concern, one of them, with the parking. The picture that you're looking at is deceiving. It looks like those driveways are longer. They're not. So at the home that he's talking about, that is much shorter than it looks in the picture. And I'm assuming that would be true for the facility that he wants to build there. Also, my husband and I have lived in our home for 50 years. It is a family neighborhood. I mean, like Dave said, my kids grew up there playing with kids. We know our neighbors. It's not just a country road. It is a neighborhood, and we are in contact with each other. My other question would be, think about the future. With this structure that he is proposing to build, what if somewhere down the road it goes bankrupt, or if something happens to you? What's going to happen to that structure? No one, I can't imagine anyone would want to buy it, or for that matter, right now. What's going to happen to the homes that are next to it, or like us across the street from it? What will it do to the value of my home? Is someone going to decide they like my home, but that's monstrous place across the street just does not fit in? Thank you. I'll be good, Adam. I'll be okay. No, ma'am, please stay there.
Hi, my name is Katie Schneider. Obviously, I don't live over in this area, but one of my very, very good friends does. He probably missed the notice that this was going on tonight, but he did text me while I was sitting here. If I heard right, the ordinance was changed to allow this here last year, and I'm curious if it was the applicant that had reached out to township staff last year before the ordinance was changed to allow this here. Are other homes in the area allowed to have employees in their home? Are they allowed to have 18-plus people in their home? I know that I am in rural residential, and I would love to build my office building on our 29-acre parcel. And that way I wouldn't have to rent an office in the commercial district. But that's not allowed. And so I'm in the commercial zone because that's where I belong. I need parking spaces for my employees. And although we don't get a ton of traffic just based on the business we are, I question a lot of things here. I do agree that there is a need for something like this. I'm not against the idea of something like this for sure, but I do know this area pretty well, and I know that there's a mixed-use parcel for sale right across the street from, it sounds like, where this home is going. Why wouldn't that be considered as an appropriate place? Why wouldn't this go there instead of putting it right up against all of your neighbors? And I know that with the large cornfield behind this, in the master plan, that's marked as industrial. So is this an appropriate use there? I know the west end of that field, the 40 acres, were just switched over, and they're being advertised currently for a large industrial facility lease. Again, is this appropriate there? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ann Bashaw. I live on 11th Street, which is unfortunately or fortunately, haven't decided yet, the first house in Oshtemo. Right around, so we'll have the privilege of looking at this 26-foot tall building. The 6-foot fence is not going to help us from seeing it. It's going to be huge. It does not fit the profile of the neighborhood. If you look at the picture, which is provided, that looks, and someone up there, I believe, commented, very commercial. The way the driveway is placed, the way the front is laid out, the slope of the roof, it just does not look residential. And I'm sure you've all driven down N Avenue, especially in preparation for this meeting, to get the feel of that road, and this is not the feel of that road. If you just went with the house that he's remodeling, that's the feel of the road. It's a small ranch, not a raised ranch, just a ranch. And you could do stuff with that and it will fit right in. But that new building he's proposing, which I'm not against, I worked in nursing homes my whole childhood almost, it just does not fit the neighborhood. And I'd like you to think about that when you do that. You're changing the whole look of that street. And to what Mary Ann said, my first thought when I saw it was, what if it fails? You have this huge building with 12 little bedrooms around the side. What are you going to do with it? You're going to tear it down? You're going to convert it to something else? Turn it into a hotel? I don't know. So I'd like you to really carefully think. Perhaps you should take a drive before you vote down N Avenue with an eye to where they're putting this in. It's tiny ranch, tiny ranch, tiny ranch. And that it's just not going to look well. So I appreciate your time, and I really want you to think about this before you do it. Oshtemo is a nice town. That's a really good part of Oshtemo, but I'm not sure if it will stay a good part of Oshtemo if you do this. Thank you.
Seeing nobody rising, I'm going to terminate the public comment portion of this meeting and turn to the Planning Commission. Pardon?
Can I address some of those concerns?
Sure, yeah, come on up, Mr. McNolan.
I'm not sure this is appropriate or not, but, so, hi neighbors. Thank you for putting up the fence, that was perfect. I thought that's perfect, so that's why I'm.
I didn't put it up because I knew this was going.
Oh, okay. You knew that was an AFC? Oh, okay, all right. So to address that, you do want to stay in the Oshtemo Township, right? That's what I love about Township. But the reason for having this is that more seniors, more of the residents, Oshtemo Township, mom and dad, could stay in the township due to this communities that I'm setting up. So, and then as far as like why this location, because it is, so when you guys decide, remember, this is an R2 zoning. So if you remember on 9th Street, there's a condo that goes in there. And you see how many parking spots that condo, right? There's a single house, 9th Street by KL Avenue, right? There's a condo that's there. How high is that condo? It's more than 26 feet because it's a 2-story house. So this is only 24 feet or whatever that I'm proposing. So it's still within the ordinance, okay? And besides, AFC is ADA protected. That means it's handicap protected. It's not due to ordinance. It's not due to HOAs. If anybody who want to open an AFC, even in HOA facilities, they can't kick them out because it is ADA protected by law. So make sure you understand that. I understand the neighbor's concern, but at the same time, this is legal and it's proper for an R2 zoning. I wish I could buy multi-use, but I'm a man, I don't have multi-million dollars to buy that sort of land, right? So that's to address that. So yeah, the parking lot, the height of the building, the size of the building, there's no different what you guys already approved. There's a condo right there on 9th Street, taller than 26 feet. If they use all the square footage, if they want to, they could have went 5,000 square feet if they wanted to. It's still within the ordinance. So that's, I just want to address those concerns you guys have.
Anybody on the commission wish to comment or make any comment on what we've heard tonight?
Well, I think there's two things. First of all, and correct me if I'm wrong, the house that he's proposing to build on the vacant lot, the larger house, would that would be permitted if it was just going to be a single-family home, correct? Because it meets the ordinance requirements as far as setbacks and...
The 4,800 square foot?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be a duplex, with each side being 2,400 square feet.
Or it could be just one large...
Or a large...
single-family home.
Yeah, most two-story homes are pushing 30 feet tall.
So, and in that case, all he would need to get is just a building permit, because a single-family home would already be a permissible use there of that size, would still be permissible there. So I think there's two things there's that, and then I understand the neighbor's concerns about the look and the effect on the neighborhood. So it's kind of like, if he just wanted to build a house, he could have gone ahead and done that and not have to come to us for anything. But on the other hand, because of it's the use that required him to come to the planning commission. I don't know if that makes it any clearer, but
I think you tried to put into words kind of what I was thinking about that. It's, we need adult foster care facilities, and I spent a good portion of my career going around from facility to facility, seeing how our elderly are treated, and they need better treatment. Is this the appropriate place for it? Well, you're right. If it was a single-family house or a duplex, it would be. It's going to stick out like a sore thumb in this portion of the neighborhood. The residents have commented that, yeah, it's not even going to try and blend in. The parking issue really bothers me, okay? I think the parking is way too restricted because, yeah, you're right. You might have 12 people in there, and all their families aren't going to show up at once, and some of them you'll never see a family member on. But inevitably, there'll be something going on where you have 4 families showing up at once, and they're bringing 2 cars apiece, and there isn't going to be any place to park. And that portion of N Avenue isn't the little rural road it used to be. It's picked up quite a lot of traffic, and you had your chance. There's a lot of traffic on that road now, and I would hate to be the guy going out to talk to a client that's got to find a place to park my car on N Avenue. There's a real problem with the parking as I see it. So I'm very concerned about that. The fact that it's a foster care home, that's great. I got no problems with that. I think it's wonderful. But if you talk to any other architects about maybe what could be done to maybe make it blend in a little better?
Yeah, that's why we put in dormers and little gables, look more like a, I know it's fancy.
Would you please go to the podium so the people at home can hear you? Thank you.
Yeah, so that's why the architect, I didn't spend like a full-blown architect design. That's why he put in gables and dormers. so that to fit in the neighborhood feel, like so more of a residential feel. You know, from the picture, it's like, it does look super fancy with that large gable, but the whole point, the architecture is trying to design to make it look more inviting of the design, but it's pretty much designed as a residential house, not a large institutional facilities or communities.
Did you think about, this is for 12 residents.
Yes.
If you had 6, like you were going to have in the other house, then you could build a house that's more compatible with what's there. Is there a reason you wanted to do 12, or could you?
Yes,
do
yes,
6
there's a
and
reason to
still
do
fit?
12. Because for 6 residents home, the business is a little bit more unstable, I guess you can say. Let's say you have 5 residents instead of 6 residents living in there. You know, you're only, 75% full. So with larger, you know, like I was thinking about the smaller one because it's easier to get licensed and the requirement to do a 6-bed residence. But I'm taking a bigger challenge because when you do higher than 6 residents, then it would be harder. Laura would make you do a lot of work, like the fire suppression system, the fire door ratings is going to be a lot more than 6 residents or less. So I'm actually taking on a lot of cost and the challenge, and so that I don't fail. If you have a 6 residents house, it's easier to fail than if you do a little bit higher than that. So there is economical reasons to have a bit larger than 6 residents in there. And then to address your parking concerns, that's why I love having both of them together. So when the 12 beds, residents, let's say 4 or 6 family member want to come by there, and they don't have parking space, they can park at the adjacent parking lot. As you can see there, that driveway can probably fit about 5 more vehicles. Well, 4 minus one of the caregiving is parking there. So you have back and forth support for the parking spaces.
Mr. DeWin, I'm a pretty darn poor architect, but in visualizing what I see before me, I don't see the parking being kind of thought out. I see the one lot to the left, the bigger building, that they've got the proposed white lines for a driveway, and it looks like adjacent parking bump outs, but there's nothing really that appears on the 5516 West End Avenue to show what the plan for this is in the future, which leads me to believe it's going to remain just like it's visualized here, and that's not a good solution, I don't think.
I mean, we can also do another bump out on the existing house. So now you get additional 2 or 3 parking space over there. I just didn't want to, you know, talking to Colton, I didn't know if I'm supposed to do more modifications or just present now that you guys address about the parking space concern. We can always do another bump out, so that way we can accommodate 2 or 3 more additional parking space there.
I'm just trying to highlight what's bumping out to me,
Oh.
from this, what I see,
Yeah.
and the problems down the road that you may run into.
Okay.
May not, but
Yeah.
that's what I look at.
Yeah, I mean, since operating for a year, kind of living in Kalamazoo, I think the only time when we have like parking issues is when we have like a family meeting where everybody comes. So to solve that problem is we're gonna break it out instead of having all 12 residents' family come together. We really like, hey, 6 on this day, 6 on that day. But yeah, the rest of the day in that place, tenant living home in Kalamazoo, yeah, we hardly ever have parking issues at all.
Don't you run into licensing problems if you try and limit the access to your patient population?
What's that?
Don't you run into licensing problems if you try and limit access to your client population?
They don't have that. It's just, they just only go with the building department, the township or the city building department, as long as the the building department in that, whatever township the AFC home is at, if they approve it, law is fine with it. They don't have a parking code.
How many parking spaces can that hold?
On this one,
Yeah, the 40.
so I know it's not very thing, but it's supposed to be 3 on the left, 3 on the right, and then you can park another car in the middle, so that's 7. And then if I do another bump out on the existing house, so right now you can park 2 cars on the left, so as I do the same thing on the left side, that's additional 2. And then along their driveway, you can park another 2 in there, so that's, sorry, my math here, so that's additional 6 vehicles on the right side.
Do you have to have ADA space?
We do have a lot of vegetations to my neighbor. We do have already existing on that lot, a bunch of brushes or bushes there. That's gonna give you some, coverage, I guess, so.
Do you have ADA parking space?
What's that?
ADA parking space?
ADA? I don't think you're required because it's a private. It's not an institution. It's a private property. It's considered residential property.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
No. He got to rebut. He has the burden of proof, okay? All right. I'm kind of bothered by this. I mean, I like the idea of the project. I'm not convinced.
Mr. Chair, will you please turn your mic on? Thank you.
I like the idea of the project. I'm not convinced it's well thought out. I think my belief is it should probably go back to the drawing board a little bit and work on some of these problems that have been raised. I think the parking is a real problem here. Maybe all the parking could be consolidated between the two properties to allow people access to both buildings. Maybe something could be done to the building to not make it stand out so much. It definitely doesn't fit in with the character of what's there. And I'm sorry, the 2 little dormer windows don't do it for me. It still looks like a vast slate wall in a residential area. So I'm kind of leaning against voting no on it.
I know a little bit about this industry, and he's not breaking any rules technically. It's just, I wouldn't call it an eyesore to the community. It has a commercial look in a residential area. And the parking space ordeal, the state doesn't really put checkpoints on that. If it's spaces, we can require an architect to come out and actually measure the sidewalk spaces to see if it's legitimately 7 parking spaces. And at that point, it's technically a safe home.
It's been said a number of times, and I'll just go back quoting out of the packet. The primary issue I have states, "The residential character of the property shall be preserved and maintained," period. Any building must be compatible in size, height, et cetera, et cetera. I'm back to the issue, I don't see this maintaining and preserving the residential character of this neighborhood. Then we add on the parking situation, and parking in your front yard really doesn't strike me as being a residential area, let alone, because I do know the area, I do know I don't know how people are going to drive in and out of that without creating possibly some safety hazards, the way people drive on N Avenue. So, I can't support it the way it's currently configured.
You know, I see the challenges with the property, but in light of the fact that that same structure could be built on the property if we weren't dealing with a unified care facility, we were just talking about a duplex. That's where my rub is in the discussion here. Because it's a big building, no question.
I think that's along the lines of my concerns. It is a big building. It's not in a taste I would necessarily pick for myself, but I also try to think of property owners' rights, and if another individual wanted to build something here, I don't get to dictate what my neighbor's house looks like. And when I look at the properties, as far as the parking area, the house near there has very similar, except there would be the additional bump out. My experience with AFCs, unfortunately, in my experience, not a lot of families come to visit individuals there. It's sometimes a sad place, depending on the degree of handicap. And so I'm not as concerned about the volume of traffic or the parking. The catch-up for me is it does not fit the look of the neighborhood, but at the same time, if this were a house and I wanted to build a giant house on this property, there would be nothing that would stop it. So I'm trying to balance between the look of the neighborhood and I'm trying to balance between property owners' rights to build. And that's a difficult thing. It does not fit. I give you that. But there is tremendous need. My many years in the emergency department, getting people to proper placement has been very difficult. And it's only growing with our aging population in our community. I think that if this were proposed in any community, there would be some pushback to it. But the appearance is the only thing that is holding me back. There's a need in the community. I understand that. The parking I'm less concerned about because of my experience with them, just not a lot of people visiting them. I think that it has appropriate access for an ambulance, which for seniors is important. So that's where I'm at. I'm conflicted on this because of the appearance, but wanting to respect the property rights and understanding that if I bought this and wanted to build a monstrosity house, I could do it. So that's where I'm at it, kind of a bit conflicted.
I agree with you, but I put much more emphasis on the parking around it. I mean, I had to go into a lot of these homes, and a lot of them in the city of Kalamazoo. It's impossible to get into them. And when somebody was sick, you couldn't get an ambulance up to the house because somebody's car was there, or there was a social worker there, or there was some lawyer like me running around, you know. It's not a good situation the way that's laid out, and I don't see that benefiting anybody that lives in that house. On the other hand, Mr. Nguyen's got the right to build. I mean, I understand that, but he still has to build in character with what's in the neighborhood. I don't think that's in character with what's in the neighborhood.
I think the parking question I have is it looks like in this diagram, you have only diagrammed bump outs for 4 parking spots, and the actual 6 that you've proposed might take up the entirety of the front kind of like green area if you actually created it to the way you've described it. So I'm curious if that would even further impact the character of the area, or if you actually need 8 parking spots or something like that, that I don't know that you even have that, and leaving the easement to the road that is necessary.
I do like the idea of looping it around, like connected to. Should I just stay here?
Mr. Nguyen, you've had your time, so thank you.
I do believe it's drawn to have 3 and 3, those white bump outs, those rectangles.
It looks the same size as the bump out in the next neighboring driveway. That's only 2. It's hard to say.
Well, does anybody wish to make a motion?
And one of your options is to table and let them come at this with a different layout or a different elevation for the building and try to fit the character of the area better for your future consideration.
Is that something that we should ask the applicant if he's agreeable with?
Well, am I on? Yeah. Well, first, also, if there is a motion to deny and it's passed, he will not be able to bring the same application for a year unless he can show a change of circumstances, which he might be able to, but it does leave the door open for yet another decision the commission must make to make another determination. The question was whether he should be asked if that's okay with him. I don't think there would be any prohibition for the chair to ask that question if the chair so chooses.
Mr. Nguyen, would you be willing to allow us to table this and maybe work with you and the planning department to see whether we can resolve the issues that we talked about?
I will make a motion to table the request then.
Is there a second to that motion?
I second that motion to table.
All those in favor of the motion?
Just a question, do we have to table that to a date certain, or?
No, there's no discussion on this table, but I will add for the future that if you make a motion to postpone, that would be a discussion as to a date certain. But this motion to table, there's no discussion, no date.
All right, all those in favor of the motion to table signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye. Or opposed?
And the record will so reflect.
So when it comes back, another notice will be in the paper, and another notice will go out to owners and occupants within 300 feet.
Right. Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 8, public comment. If anybody has a public comment they wish to make, now's the time to do it, please.
I just have a really quick one. And I know that on the back of the agenda here, it says that short answers could be given to questions. There's 2 new faces up here on the dais tonight. Is there any chance we can get an introduction of who's here tonight? Thank you.
Starting with Mr. DeForia, would you go down, just identify who you are? We'll go right down the line.
I think she meant the new people.
Well, I know, but I'm,
Your mic's not on.
Sorry, Jody Stoporia.
Mr. Brown, would you tell us who you are?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm Randall Brown, and I'm filling in tonight for Attorney Jim Porter.
I'm Grace Engels, and I am a newly appointed planning commissioner. This is my second meeting.
Jeremiah Smith, Planning Commissioner.
I'm Alistair Smith, Planning Commissioner.
Deb Everett, Planning Commission.
Scott Jeffries, Planning Commissioner.
Mike Chapman, I am a board liaison and member of the Planning Commission.
Ron for Planning Commissioner.
Thank you. Seeing no further people rising to make a public comment, this portion of the meeting is closed. The planning commissioners, you have any comments you wish to make?
As always, I thank the public for coming out. The more involved you are in local business and local decisions, the easier it is for us. So I appreciate everybody coming out and being as involved in the civic activity as possible. So thank you all for coming.
Seeing no other comments, any other business that should be brought to our attention, Ms. DeForia?
I'm debating correcting some of the misinformation that was said tonight, but I'm not going to correct it. But I did want to give a tour after you adjourn to just where the basement is. We've had a lot of strong winds lately, where the AED is, the fire extinguisher, and the panic button. Once you adjourn.
There being no further business to come before the Planning Commission on April 23rd, 2026, this meeting is hereby adjourned.